Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into this week's edition of my top waiver wire targets and streamable defenses for week 5 of this NFL season. Hopefully, you guys know what to expect, but you guys know what I'm going to do. In case we have any first time listeners, I'm going to dive into my top waiver wire targets at the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and flex ad of the weeks. These players do have to have at least 50% roster availability, so there's a good chance they are available out there in your leagues. Doing what I always do as well, starting with the quarterback position. If you're looking for a quarterback to pick up, and he might actually end up being a guy you can pick up and play for the rest of the season with how well he's done over the past couple of weeks, I am going to go with Justin Fields. He's available in 68% of the leagues. Now, there is this concern, maybe if Russell Wilson gets healthy, are they going to put Russell Wilson in? I don't think so. The Steelers offense is rolling right now with Justin Fields. It just doesn't make any sense from a football aspect to replace Fields, especially considering he has continued to grow within the Arthur Smith's offense. This past weekend against the Colts, he threw for 312 passing yards and a touchdown. And then he also had 10 rushes for 55 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's why you always like Justin Fields as a fantasy quarterback, is because of his rushing ability, his ability to extend plays and pick up first downs with his legs, which does give him a higher floor as an option at the quarterback position. And then over the last 2 games, he's got at least 2 touchdowns, so that you love to see that. I do think he's playable this week. If you do pick him up, he's going against the Dallas Cowboys, whose defense has struggled this season with Mike Zimmer, especially stopping the run. And while that might be a focus on the running back position, as I said, Justin Fields does run the ball. They did do some design quarterback runs for Fields in that game against the Colts, so that's why I even like him even more if you were to pick him up and wanting to put him in your lineups this week. My running back ad of the week, I'm going to actually go with somebody that's going to be playing in that matchup, Rico Dowdle, the Cowboys running back. He's available in 51% of the leagues. This past weekend, he had 11 rushes for 46 yards. He had 1 reception for 15 yards on 1 target, and he did get a touchdown on that 1 catch. Now, what I like about him is he's seeing a consistent share of touches. Over the last 3 games, he's touched the ball at least 11 times, which I do love to see. So that means to me he's definitely rosterable. Right now, though, to me, he's more of a matchup-based play. I don't necessarily love his matchup against the Steelers this Sunday night because the Steelers do have one of the best rush defenses. But he should definitely be picked up and added to your bench if you do need running back depth help. But the buys start this week. There's injuries at the running back position, so even though I don't love his matchup, if you needed somebody to play in your lineup this week, Dowdle is still not that bad of an option because, at least based on this sample size of the last 3 games, he's getting the ball in his hands at least 11 times at a minimum, which you love to see at the running back spot. My wide receiver ad of the week, I'm going to go with Dontavian Wicks, the Packers wide receiver. He's available in 85% of the leagues. If you guys have been following me all since the summer, and you know that I do love year 3 wide receivers. Back in July, I talked about year 3 wide receivers, and Dontavian Wicks was in my tier of year 3 wide receivers where I talked about you just want to monitor his situation throughout the season, because if injuries were to happen in the Green Bay offense, he would get an elevated role, and he's shown that he can produce in an elevated role. Well, that actually happened this past weekend because Christian Watson left that game. He has the report is he has a mild high ankle sprain. He's probably definitely going to miss this week, which is why I like him, because if you need a wide receiver to play this week, I would try to go pick up Dontavian Wicks and put him in your lineups. This past weekend against that Vikings defense, he had 5 receptions for 78 yards and 2 touchdowns, and what I love to see is he had 13 targets, and then he has a great matchup against the Rams, who I'm going to talk about tomorrow, so spoiler alert on one of my top starts. But yeah, if you need a wide receiver to play at least for this week, I love Dontavian Wicks, and then I think he's going to be a fantasy relevant player at the wide receiver position until Christian Watson can get his ankle fully healed up, and I would expect them to give him as much time as he needs because of the plethora of wide receivers they have there in Green Bay. So yeah, I would definitely pick up Wicks, and he's definitely an option to put in your lineups in week 5. My tight end ad of the week, I am going to go with the Buccaneers tight end, Cade Otton. He's available in 85% of the leagues. This past weekend against the Eagles defense, he had 6 receptions for 52 yards on 9 targets. Why I really like him as the ad of the week is over the last 2 games, he's gotten at least 8+ targets. So if you guys have been following me all season, I always say if I can see a tight end get anywhere between 7 to 9 targets consistently, that's when he catches my eye, especially at the tight end position where all you just want to see is get those 7 to 9 targets, and hopefully he can get you at least 5 points or maybe a touchdown. That's all you can ask out of the tight end position. And they are going against the Falcons this week, who have somewhat struggled against tight ends this year. So I do think he's a decent streaming option this week if you want to pick him up off the waivers and put him into your lineup. My flex ad of the week, I am going to go with Justice Hill. He's available in 86% of the leagues right now. This past weekend, he had 4 rushes for 18 yards, but he also had 6 receptions for 78 yards and a touchdown on 6 targets. Overall, in all 4 games for Baltimore, he's touched the ball at least 6 times. Going against the Bengals this week, but I will say this with Justice. This is more of a, if you are a Derrick Henry manager, and you don't really have great running back depth right now on your bench, I would definitely consider picking up Hill because he's going to be the top handcuff to Henry. If Henry has to miss any time this year, all of a sudden you're talking about Justice Hill has RB2 value. So any of your rosters where you do manage Derrick Henry, I would highly suggest picking up Hill. I don't think he's going to be playable at this point, but you do like to see, even with Derrick Henry and all those weapons, not all those weapons, but with the majority of the guys that they can spread the ball to, that he's still touching the ball at least 6 times a game. Imagine what would happen if Henry has to miss any time. So that's why he is my flex ad of the week. So yeah, those are my waiver wire targets for week 5. Moving into my streamable defenses, and just like I always say, in case I have any first-time listeners, these streamable defenses, they do have to have at least 50% roster availability, so there is a good chance they are out there available in your leagues. My top streaming defense of the week, I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos against the Raiders. The Denver Broncos defense is available in 82% of leagues. Before I go into stats, I'll go ahead and say this. The Broncos have been one of the best defenses in the NFL. Honestly, they should have more of a roster ownership because of what they have done to opposing offenses this season. But then when you look at this matchup, this is a home game for Denver. I love that even though they won't play better in their uniforms, I love that this weekend they're going to be playing in those throwback Denver orange helmets and uniforms this weekend. With that being said, when you look at this matchup, they're going against the Raiders, who are tied for the 3rd most giveaways this season. They're tied for the 5th most sacks allowed, and then the Broncos actually have the 2nd most sacks in the NFL. So I view this as a high ceiling option for you, and honestly, I view it as a high floor option for you because if you haven't heard, Davante Adams has requested for a trade, so I don't expect to see Davante Adams out there on the field. So the Raiders also will be missing their best offensive player, which means you're going to see Patrick Surtain probably on Jacoby Myers, and they're going to be able to shut down this Raiders defense, and that's why they're my top streaming option in week 5. My number 2 streaming option, I am going to go with the Seahawks against the Giants. The Seahawks are available in 72% of the leagues right now. I like this because this is a home matchup. We all do know that the Seattle crowd is one of the best environments in the NFL, and they can really affect a game. Going against this Giants team who is tied for the 3rd most giveaways. So you do like that there's turnover potential, especially with Daniel Jones at the quarterback position. We'll have to see. More likely, they'll probably be missing Malik Neighbors as well, because Malik Neighbors unfortunately did suffer a concussion on Thursday night. Now he does have that extra time to hopefully recover in time. And then the Giants offense, lastly on them, they're actually tied for the 3rd fewest points per game. They're only scoring 15 points a game so far this season, so that's why I think that also gives you a higher floor. And then Seattle they actually are tied for the 4th most sacks in the NFL. This past Monday night, they were actually missing 4 of their top pass rusher against Detroit. So hopefully they'll be able to get back in the lineup and get back to getting after the quarterback. But even if 1 or 2 of those guys are missing, I still think the Seattle Seahawks defense gives you a high floor option with a ceiling because the Giants are prone to turning the ball over. My number 3 streaming defense, I am going to go with the Commanders defense against the Browns. Commanders are available in 99% of the league right now. This is a home matchup for Washington. Now, obviously, Washington is not known for their home crowd, but I would expect with them having success this season, we're going to see more of a positive environment for Washington this time around. With that being said, I just like it just because of Cleveland's offense. It's a really good matchup for the Commanders to take advantage of. The Browns have allowed the most sacks in the NFL, so there's a sack potential in this game. The Browns are tied for the fourth most giveaways, so there's turnover potential in this game. And then the Browns are only averaging 16.5 points a game. That is the fifth fewest in the NFL. So because they're not scoring a lot of points, I view this as a high floor option. And then because the Browns are giving up the most sacks in the NFL, and then have been also giving the ball away, this is also a high ceiling option for you. So if you're to miss out on the Broncos or the Seahawks, there's a good chance the Commanders are out there for you, and I would definitely roll the dice on them. My number 4 streaming defense, I'm going to go with the Packers against the Rams. The Packers are available in 69% of the leagues. Sean McVay already said Cooper Kupp's not going to be playing in this game. They're already missing Puka Nacua, so I don't really expect a high potent Rams offense. This is, even though this is in LA, right? This is a home game for the Rams. We all know there's tons of Packer fans. They travel well as a fan base. There's Packer fans all over the country, and we've seen this before for Rams at the home games when they played franchises like the Packers. That ends up being a home game for the away team, so this might end up being kind of a home game for Green Bay. So I factor that in too. And then when we look at the matchup, the Rams are actually tied for the 5th most giveaways this season. And then what you really like about that is the Rams are tied for the 5th most giveaways. The Packers have actually had the most takeaways in the NFL this year. And they also are tied for the 5th most sacks, going against that Rams offensive line that is banged up right now. So I could see them pressuring Matthew Stafford into those turnovers and getting those potential sacks. This would be a strictly high ceiling play for me. I do think there is a lower floor with this just because it's Sean McVay, it's Matthew Stafford. You never know, they could start putting up points on any given Sunday. But so that's why I'm saying if you miss out on those top 3 defenses, I would consider the Packers. My number 5 streaming defense, I am going to go with the Raiders against the Broncos. This is a 12-14 team league play if you were to miss out on the other top streaming options. Raiders are available in 74% of the leagues right now. This is strictly because of Denver's offense. Denver is tied for the 2nd most giveaways this season, and then they're only scoring 15.5 points per game, which is the 4th fewest in the NFL. This is a strictly high risk, high reward play in my opinion, because we don't know what we're gonna get out of the Raiders defense on any given week. Hopefully they have Max Crosby back this week where they can get after Bo Nix and pressure him into some rookie mistakes and get you some points if you wanted to take a chance on the Las Vegas defense. So yeah, those are my top waiver wire targets and streamable defenses for week 5. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Please make sure you do subscribe to me on all my platforms, or subscribe or follow me on all my platforms, whether it's X, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Go ahead and check me out at Cody Talks NFL. As always, tomorrow night you'll get my top starts and sits for week 5. I hope you guys enjoy your evening, your morning, your night, your day, whenever you're watching this. Peace out.